Don't stop. Don't stop. What a great, great privilege it is to be here tonight with Barbara Babcock and all the directors of the D.C. Public Defender Service. You know, I owe so much to the fact that in 1976, Pat Hickey, as the director of the Public Defender Service, abandoned all of the standards that the center had, that the service had, and allowed a country lawyer from Kentucky to join with people that I remember meeting on my first day there, who had clerked for this judge and had gone to Harvard and gone to Yale and all these places, and sort of like, what am I doing here? And I see tonight so many of my mentors. Truman Morrison, who was the trial chief when I joined the Public Defender Service, Gary Coleman, who was training director when I was there, who I co-counsel my first case with, and so many other people who have been, Jim Binsfield and others who have been so much a part of really what I've often said at law schools and so forth, what was my graduate school in criminal defense, in learning how to be a criminal defense lawyer. In going through the training program that we had there, where for 6 weeks we learned how to be lawyers before we went into court and practiced. And to be in an office where the standards were so high that where you were told only to handle the cases that you could handle competently, not to handle every case that was piled upon you when you couldn't even learn the names of your clients. And people like Frank Carter and others who were there and who made the service and what it was. And today, as other people have alluded to, these connections that we've had. Primo, who was one of our students and now is one of the great lawyers at the Public Defender Service, and Tammy Sun, who was one of my students at Yale, was a lawyer with us at the Southern Center for Human Rights and now is in the appellate section with Jimmy Klein at Public Defender. So many kind of interesting connections. I saw Tom Dybdahl when I came in this evening, and I remember when we were litigating the conditions for mentally ill people in Louisiana at Camp J at the Angola at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, and Tom was a Mennonite volunteer in New Orleans, and when we would go down to work on the case, we couldn't afford to stay anywhere else. We always stayed with Mennonite volunteers or Quakers or clients or somebody who put us up, and we'd stay at Tom's house there in New Orleans, and he'd let us stay there, and we'd go up to Angola and see our clients and work on that case. And now he's a lawyer at the Public Defender Service here. A few years ago, when we were trying to change the culture in Georgia, which is so, as John Rapping alluded to earlier, is so different than what we saw here, and we went there and are horrified by what we saw. I remember the first death case I had, being horrified at the quality of representation that Donnie Thomas had facing the death penalty. And when we were trying to change that in a case before Judge Frank Shub, Peter Crowdheimer, who's now the deputy director, came down and was our expert witness in that case. Why are you laughing? He was a great expert. And I want to tell you, one year the invitation had this picture on it. When he got through testifying and Judge Shub got through ruling, more people poured out of the Fulton County Jail than has ever been released at one time. Because up until that time, the system in misdemeanor cases were that you got arrested. We had one client, for example, got arrested in Roswell for eating a sandwich and drinking a beer and not paying for it. He spent 30 days in the Roswell jail, then he spent 2 months in the Fulton County jail, and then he was told, he was brought up to court and given a lawyer for the first time and told he could plead guilty to time served, or he could go back to jail and have a trial 6 months later. You can imagine how many people opted for trial. That was the system until that hearing, until that ruling, and then we changed that to where everybody got a public defender and everybody got a lawyer within hours of being arrested. That was a sea change that he helped bring about. with his testimony. And of course, all the time that I have been there, my colleague and my partner in crime, or partner in whatever we've been partners in, has been my brother and my dear friend Charles Ogletree, who I took this on 28 years ago, and he took this on 28 years ago. And he's been there every step of the way. And I will tell you that some of the steps have been really tough. They've been tough financially. They've been tough in terms of the cases we've had. They've been tough in terms of the clients we've represented, the terrible predicaments, and so often that no matter what we did, no matter how hard we championed their case, as John said earlier, no matter what, that sometimes we would spend years working for a person, and at the end of the process we would stand there and watch that person be put to death. And it has been a long and difficult journey, but I'll tell you, Tree's been on it with me every step of the way, and I can't thank him enough. And Angela Davis on our board, and many other people who've been just the other day, and part of what we've been trying to do is change the culture, as I said. We've been trying to change the culture in a place where people, when they talk about representation, they say, well, we don't want a Cadillac now, we just want a Chevy. We don't believe in zealous representation, we just want to give people adequate representation. And John Rapping came down and helped to try to change that. Sarah said something about Jamie Wheez's case where the prosecutor made a motion to take Jamie's lawyers off the case and just give them local public defenders. The public defender said, wait a minute, we've got over 400 cases. We're handling a caseload of 400 cases. We don't have the investigative support. We don't have anything to represent this man. And the judge said, that's fine. You're representing him anyway, and threw the other lawyers off the case. And we became involved in that, and on November 30th, we're having a hearing on whether the district attorney ought to be thrown off the case. We've moved to disqualify him from the case for interfering with the constitutional right to counsel. And we filed on Monday an amicus brief in that case signed by Professor Davis, signed by Norm Lefstein, and there again we see this connection that we've had with the Public Defender Service. Two people I want to mention, investigators, that have, so much of the people that have come to us, investigators, have come to us from PDS. I think two of them are here tonight. I know Adnan is here. I saw him. Adnan went all over the South investigating cases for us, put off going to law school for a year so that he could finish up a case that he had with us that was going to trial, then went to American University, now at the Prettyman program, and he keeps telling me that he's making those prosecutors in D.C. say uncle every time he goes to trial. I hope Alice Breathwaite is here. Alice, are you here? There she is. Stand up. There's another one of our investigators who worked with us and contributed so much and is now a first-year law student at American University. And we now have two lawyers on our staff who were investigators with us, who then went to law school, got a law degrees, now come back and are practicing with us as lawyers at the Southern Center for Human Rights. We're looking forward to Alice and Adnan coming back soon after they get some experience here. And I just want to finish by saying this. As someone said earlier, as Dr. King would often say, we stand on the shoulders of others so that people, I wanted to say this about law schools real quick. I want to say how much we appreciate the students from George Washington being here, the students from where I taught this year at American University, where I taught in the past, Georgetown Law School, and we've got from my home state of Kentucky, a couple of the students that are at the David Clark. What a great name for a law school, the David Clark Law School at the University District of Columbia. And we're delighted with all of having, we're honored by your presence and being here tonight. As Dr. King said, we stand